Stand by to initiate release sequencer. On my mark. 5.
We're on express elevator to hell. Going down.
2. 1. Mark.
Hello, everyone. My name is Mark, a.k.a. Derringer. Today is Sunday, July 22nd, and you are listening to episode 166 of the Instant Action Podcast, your weekly source for Planetside 2 news and information. As always, I'm brought to you by great listeners like you via the Support the Show tab on instantactionpodcast.com. Speaking of the instantactionpodcast.com Support the Show tab, I want to thank everybody out there who took advantage of my Amazon link this past Prime Day. I know I used the hell out of Prime Day, so the podcast that I support via their Amazon link got a bunch of money this past Prime Day from me. I know my wife was using it too, so certainly they raked in a little cash from me from Prime Day. So if you don't know about my Amazon link, again, go to the Support the Show tab on instantactionpodcast.com, and there you will see a link to Amazon. If you click that link, it takes you to Amazon. It looks just like Amazon, but what it does is it puts a little header in the link that directs back to me as the owner. So any purchases that you make using that link, I get a very small percentage of, usually less than 4% of whatever the total purchase price is. Again, it's no cost to you. It just gives money back to me, and you can support the show by buying the things that you are going to buy anyways. So I do appreciate, like I said, everyone who used that link on Prime Day. Other than that, it's been an extremely quiet week for me. I've been absolutely slammed with work pretty much every day. I'm sad to say that I did not have a chance to log into Planetside 2 at all this weekend. I am going to rectify that, not this weekend, this entire week. I am going to rectify that as soon as I am done recording this week's show. I'm going to log some hours tonight on Sunday and get some play in because, like I said, it's just been an absolutely crazy week. I don't know why it seems that the summer at work, it's supposed to be a quiet time. Everything's supposed to quiet down, but it doesn't. So that's my excuse for not getting in and playing as much as I wanted to. The good news is that the summer event goes through the entire month of August as well. So it's not like I'm falling behind on completing my summer directives. I still have plenty of time to get those finished. But enough about me. What's in store for this week's show? Well, first, I have a pair of PlayStation 4 hotfixes to talk about, followed by a new PTS update. After that, I want to talk about facility alerts. Next, I'm going to give you a possible performance fix, courtesy of Iridar and others. And lastly, I have a new segment to debut from a listener, followed by some additional listener email on top of that. So strap in as we hot drop into another episode of the Instant Action Podcast. So first up this week is that first Ps4 hotfix. This landed on July 17th. And again, since this is a hotfix and not a straight up game update, it's just a lot of the stuff that's already made its way to PC for the summer update and stuff like that, that's flowing over to the PlayStation 4 side of the game itself. So starting water balloons, soldier soakers, those are now all available for all players on the PlayStation 4. And also summer support ribbons are correctly granting experience now because they weren't doing it previously. Also, with that soldier soaker, the headshot multiplier was finally removed on the PlayStation 4, and the loadout screen shows its fire mode as semi-auto. Moving on to the Prowler and its anchor mode, they fixed the issue that was preventing deployment in the TI Alloy's no deployment zone for Prowlers, but they also broke Prowlers as well, so that they are free. That's been fixed, and I'll get to that in a minute. But note that when this hotfix went live last week, that players on the PlayStation 4 got Prowlers for free. I'm sure a lot of jealous PC TR players were crying over that. Next, the A7 Buzzard. This is the weapon that's the new flash weapon you unlock with the Summer Directive. The projectiles will now show the correct detonation effect when exploding before the 20-meter arming distance. The V30F Starfall, this is the flash weapon. The loadout screen's fire mode now correctly shows the 3 times burst. For continents, they made adjustments to the water planes and bushes on Hassan itself. For the aerial event, or the aerial anomaly event, they changed the dominating victory point requirement. It is now 15,000 up from 10,000, and that's to come again in line with the PC version. But there are still some known issues on PS4 and pretty much with performance and stability. A lot of the same issues that you're experiencing on the PC side of the game, they're also experiencing on the PS4 side. And they did want to say that it is their top priority right now, but progress is slow. They are working through it as best as they certainly can. Again, not a huge hotfix, just kind of getting everything on the PlayStation 4 in line with the PC version of the game. Again, we got all these hot fixes on the PC side last week, so good to see that those changes or fixes coming to the PlayStation 4 side as well. And let's move on to the second hot fix this week. And that second hotfix dropped on July 20th, so on Friday. And really, it was only to fix 2 things. One, the aforementioned Prowlers that were free, that has been fixed. They are no longer free. So honestly, PS4 players had 2-3 days, basically, where Prowlers cost nothing. That's got to be awesome, except unless you're not TR. But again, that's been fixed. Prowlers are no longer free on the PlayStation 4. But the bigger one, and this was a topic that I went over on last week's show, is that the chat state where you could enter HTML into it and that would end up breaking the chat state, that has been corrected. So you can no longer enter HTML code into the chat on the PlayStation 4, and it will lock out chat for the entire faction or entire player base, forcing them to reload. That was absolutely an annoying bug with the game itself, something that they probably should have allowed to not happen to begin with, but somehow it got through, something they didn't test for, something they weren't aware of, who knows. But regardless, good news, that has been fixed. You're no longer going to see chat just completely unusable on the PlayStation 4. And that's probably the biggest fix in this hotfix, to tell you the truth, because I can tell you right now, if on the PC side of the game, you were able to blow up the chat so nobody could read it, people would be up in arms with their torches and pitchforks faster than you can believe. So the fact that PS4 players had to live with it for as long as they did and didn't absolutely quit the game completely in frustration, you guys are better people than I am. But again, those are the 2 hot fixes for the PS4. Again, everything is brought in line with what we have on PC side of the game now. So with that, let's move on to some of the new stuff with the most recent PTS update. And that PTS update also dropped on July 20th, so this was just on Friday. So the first thing in this update is some internal changes that they've made to the core systems in how the game works in relation to factions, ally and enemy identification. They've also expanded their scripting pipeline, and while these changes won't be visible from a player's point of view, they want to know if anything crazy or out of the ordinary is happening in the game on PTS as a result of this. Again, we shouldn't see anything in game from the changes that they've made to the core systems. But if you see something out of the ordinary or something unexpected, please make sure that you submit a bug report on PTS regarding it, because they need to capture or need to be made aware of anything that kind of looks out of the ordinary that you wouldn't expect to see kind of cropping up because of these internal changes themselves. Moving on, though, we did have some changes to the meta itself, which is the Meltdown Alert specifically. What they've done is increase the experience gain by 25% for the entire duration of the alert. So, in my mind, this is a way to force some people who it's late at night, early morning, I don't know, and a Meltdown Alert pops up and you're like, ugh, really can't do it, and you log off. This 25% XP certainly might give some people pause and maybe not log off. I can tell you during member double XP weekends, an alert pops off if it's late, and I'm getting another 25% on top of everything else. I most likely will stay. But I don't know if that's going to be the case for everybody. The other change is vehicle gate shields will now block projectiles from all weapon types, and that's going to create more consistency with other gate shields in the game. I know somebody most recently posted a video on, or a quick GIF on Reddit, showing that they were still able to fire through vehicle shield gates. So again, this change is coming in the next game update. Or hotfix, I guess. Well, this is most likely a game update, because next is a whole bunch of new additional implants that they've added to the game. Again, I said it last week, I'll say it again this week. All these new implants that they're talking about are works in progress. And you can't get them from purchasing a whole bunch of implants. You need to purchase the test server bundle to unlock all these implants that they're releasing on the test server, both last week and this week. Now, the first new implant released this week is called Heavyweight. And what Heavyweight does is it passively reduces your movement speed in exchange for high flinch reduction. And at rank 5, it releases a small area of effect knockback whenever you receive fall damage. It's kind of an interesting one. I don't understand really how the AoE knockback works with heavy. I mean, I guess if they're calling you a heavy person and you fall and you crash to the ground, sure. If you hit the ground hard enough, maybe it'll make a small earthquake. But I don't really know how that one is. I guess I kind of understand how that relates because of that, but I don't understand how the high flinch reduction kind of works with that. The next implant they added is called Ransack, and basically vehicle kills at close range will restore 1 magazine of ammunition for the player and their vehicle. And at rank 5, if you kill an enemy vehicle at close range, it restores a small portion of vehicle health. I really like this one, and I think harasser drivers and flash drivers specifically are going to enjoy this one and use it a lot. They're going to probably try to unlock it as quickly as they can, but I can certainly see how anybody or any vehicle driver could use Ransack to their ability. I mean, if I make I drive the Lightning a lot. You guys know that. I've said that in the past. I can certainly see myself equipping the Ransack implant when I'm driving around in the Lightning, because, I mean, hey, any way to add more ammo and then also get some health back if you're killing enemy vehicles at close range, I really like that one, and I can really see how that one would work. And it would really move away from having to have the ammunition, the one that gives you ammunition on certain ticks back as well. But then, of course, you could use both of them. Have the ammo reload and Ransack on a vehicle loadout. I can certainly see that happening, and then you'd probably never run out of ammo. The next one is called Critical Chain, and this one is headshot kills grant increased rechamber speed for a short time. And if you bump this up to rank 5, kills beyond 70 meters will also trigger the effect. So the good news is you won't see a lot of snipers using this one, even though they seem to be the class that it would be most beneficial for until they unlock rank 5. So, I mean, I can certainly see this one being a decent sniper weapon, a sniper implant, if they unlock it all the way to rank 5 because of the requirement of 70 meters to trigger it. Next one is called Failsafe, and on this one, when your shield is broken, you regain a portion of your maximum ability energy. This effect can only trigger once every 20 seconds. And if you bump it up to rank 5, if you take melee damage when Failsafe is on cooldown, it will actually shock the attacker with non-lethal damage. That second part is kind of interesting. So basically, if somebody comes up to you and tries to knife you after your shield's broken, they're going to take damage back when you've got this on. That's kind of interesting. I mean, I see a lot of infiltrators with knives running around. This could certainly be some sort of way to deter them from doing that. I think we'll have to figure out what non-lethal damage actually means. I mean, does it reduce them down to 1 health or something? Because certainly you wouldn't want it to do X amount of damage, because if somebody's injured already, it could certainly kill them, and then that certainly wouldn't be non-lethal. But Failsafe is definitely an interesting one. And then finally, next up, we got a couple exceptional ones. The first one is called Cold Heart, and upon killing an enemy with a headshot, your heat weapons receive faster recover and cooldown rates for a few seconds. Now, obviously, this is going to be usable most by VS players, because they have the most heat-based weapons out of anybody, but certainly there are other heat-based weapons. I certainly understand that. But certainly interesting. I can see a lot of VS players playing with this, especially people who do a lot of headshotting. The next one, and we get a max-only one for the first time, and this one is called Disengage. And basically, if you activate your emergency repair as a max, it's going to create an impulse wave that will throw enemy infantry a short distance and temporarily increase your sprint acceleration speed. So basically, if you're surrounded by a bunch of enemies and you pop your emergency repair, bang, you're going to knock everybody back, which is cool in and of itself. And you're also going to be able to run away faster. So obviously, when you activate activate your emergency repair for the most part as max, it's because you're getting low on health. And this just kind of adds to it. And I really like this one. Throwing enemy infantry a short distance away is kind of a cool ability as well. I mean, we have the throwing infantry away when an orbital strike goes off, so I understand that's probably where they got this from and why they have that stuff built into the game currently. I really like this one, and I'm glad to see finally that maxes themselves are getting their own exceptional implant to use within the game itself. Now, moving away from the new ones, there are a couple adjustments that have been made to the ones that they released last week. The first one is Electrotech. They've changed it so it now restores health over 4 seconds, and it will not stack with other effects of the same type. For Salvage, they modified the description to make rank 5 benefits more clear, and basically the rank 5's health restoration went from 450 down to 200. They also included some infantry adjustments in this PTS update. First, to the repair tool and deconstruction tool. The repair tools and deconstruction tools had changes done to them, so they now deconstruct on right click and repair with left click. So very similar to the way the medical applicator works. One click will res, the other click will heal. The repair and deconstruction tools now work the exact same way. Moving on to vehicles, the Buzzard. This is the NC flash weapon that everybody is doing nothing but complaining about. So they made they felt that the weapon had some major usability issues in terms of tracking targets and estimating the drop distances. So they made some changes to it. So first, they changed the camera's pitch up angle from 18 to 30. They changed it down from 11 to 15. Its yaw from 25 to 30. And they also changed the projectile velocity from 60 to 120. So they doubled it. And again, this should help it make it easier to track targets and estimate the drop distance of the weapon itself. And I haven't had a chance to play around with it on the PTS, but it could be interesting. It could help change some of the issues that we're having with it. Next, a final infantry change. The T2 Striker, this is the Terran Republic rocket launcher. They wanted to bring it in range to roughly 445 meters because previously the projectile would be able to reach well beyond the range vehicles would actually render. So the projectile lifespan on it was reduced from 5 down to 2. And again, it's only to make it so it can't reach further than enemy vehicles can actually render. They finally added some other miscellaneous adjustments, so they updated the Sunderer's blockade armor description to be accurate with its benefits. The Obelisk's manual calibration attachment should now use the correct heat reduction values. The Dragoon's reload animation should now work correctly. They added a speculative fix for Cordium radar, not showing Cordium at proper ranges when upgraded quickly. They've also put in a speculative fix for the Sunderer not being able to undeploy while under fire and being repaired. Squad menus should no longer show fake squads and break the menu, which a lot of people are complaining about. And finally, they fixed and updated Sunderer deploy shield particle effects. And again, all this has been done on the PTS. If you're a new PlayStation 4 listener, PTS, public test server, only available on the PC. If you have a PC, load it up, go check it out. But a lot of this stuff, they've asked for our help testing these things. I know they tweeted yesterday asking people to get on and test some of this stuff out. If you are concerned, basically, about any of the implants, new implants that are coming to the game, this is your chance to get on PTS and then put a detailed explanation of what you like and what you dislike about it. I mean, take a page from, I'm sure I'm going to butcher his name, but it's 4WRY_Reddit, 4I Reddit. I don't know. I'm sorry if I messed it up. He comments on my Reddit posts all the time, and I love his comments. Take a page from him. He went out there on PTS, played around with all the feedbacks, and put 2 very long but very concise Reddit posts about the implants themselves, his thoughts on them, his pluses and minuses to them, suggestions on how to change them or make them better, things like that. Definitely take a page out of his book because I do think stuff like that really helps the devs get an idea of how people like the implants out there or ways that they think they should be changed or altered. Again, check out, he's got 2 of them. You know, they both are PTS and then the date update feedback, and a lot of good stuff in there. I read through them all, and I like a lot of the stuff that he put in there about them and why he thinks some changes should be made to them. So again, the devs appreciate that feedback, and in the end, you'll get better implants out there for all of us to use in the next game update, because I imagine these things are probably coming sooner rather than later. With that, let's move on to our 4th topic this week. So 4th up this week, and there's going to be 5 topics this week, so strap in. 4th this week is about facility alerts. Now, if you're like me, facility alerts are probably some of the most annoying alerts in the game right now, because 9 times out of 10, they end in a draw. And maybe it's because people don't care about them, because they're not paying attention to them. I don't know why people aren't doing the facility alerts. And the times that I've played through them, a lot of times we don't even bother. We don't even pay attention to the facilities for the most part. But I know some people do. Some people play them, and some people enjoy them. But again, 9 times out of 10, the end of a facility alert, it comes out as a draw. And we all know that no one receives anything from it. You get the reward, and there's no actual reward, and it pisses everybody off, and it sucks. And there were a number of complaints about it this week on Reddit. But the good news is we did get a response from Rel, and he wrote that this is fixed in the next update, and is the same reason draw is giving no reward when it should be giving the losers a reward. And then he puts in parentheses, and you're all losers at that point. So first off, nice that he called the entire player base losers, because we are. And good to know that in the next update, whenever there is a tie, you know, everybody still begins and ends the event with the same facilities that they did when they started or whatnot, and it does come out as a tie, that we are all going to get some sort of lesser reward, or the loser's reward for this, which is good, because right now, facility alerts, there's really no reason to even pay attention to them when they come up. And they're kind of annoying because I know whenever I see a facility alert pop up that, bam, nobody's going to get anything out of it, which in all honesty should be the catalyst that we need to really take a facility and win an alert. But I'm not going to lie, they're hard to do if it's a 33% population on a continent fighting over them. So again, good news is in the next update, we are going to see everybody getting a loser's reward for tying in a facility alert. So I'm at least happy about that. And with that, let's move on to our fifth and final topic this week. And that fifth topic is a potential performance fix. So, again, this is a shout out to Iridar, who is the one who alerted me to it. But I do know that he's thanking some other people for bringing it to his attention. Namely, give me a second here. I want to give them as well. Oots, that's OOTTZZ, and also Dastardly Coxcomb as well for giving input on this and bringing these things to his attention, and then in turn him bringing this to our attention. Now, this is probably not something that's going to work for you on Windows 7. I'm just going to get that out of the way. But basically, some PCs are suffering a bug tied to HPET. And I'm sure you're asking yourself, what the hell is HPET? Well, HPET stands for High Precision Event Timer. And in order for your computer to accurately measure time, they use timers like this to measure time on your computer. Now, it's known that on Ryzen CPUs and also the Skylake and Kaby Lake CPUs have it affecting them as well. Unfortunately, I don't have any of those, so that can't necessarily be my issue. But basically, there's some issues where HPET is being forced to be on when it doesn't need to be on, or things like that. And the recommendation is that you should go into your settings and try disabling it and then restarting your PC and seeing if you see some sort of performance increase. So basically, to do that, and I'll include a link to this as well, if on your Windows PC, in the type here to search section, you type in CMD, when the command prompt option comes up, if you right click on it and run it as administrator, and then you type in BCD edit / delete value space use platform clock. If you have HPET turned on, it's going to give you a message that says operation successful. And then you should shut down and restart your PC, and you might see increased performance on Planetside 2. Of course, you might not get that message, which means it's probably not installed anyways and not running anyways, and therefore you might not see anything. Now, of course, there is a potential negative. Any software that might be using HPET may stop working correctly. You can also always go back in using the same command, a little different, and set that, and you can turn it actually back on. So, again, this is just something to try. And Iridar posted some FPS readings before this was turned off, and then after it was turned off, and then turned it on again and turned it off again, and showed how he was definitely seeing a significant decrease in performance when this was turned on versus when it was turned off. So, a PSA from him, a PSA from me. Again, I will include a link to the Reddit post on this, which also has a link directly to iridar.net and how it could fix some of your performance issues, or at least make it a little bit better. So, something to try if you're having some of these performance issues, especially if you're using a Ryzen CPU. But enough of that. Let's move on to housekeeping this week.
Housekeeping.
Housekeeping.
Come back later, please.
Housekeeping.
Not now.
Housekeeping.
Go away.
I coming anyway?
And like I said at the beginning of the show, I've got some new stuff and also a bunch of listener emails. So first, I was contacted by player Romas. He plays TR on Emerald, if you've seen him around. He asked if he could submit a new segment to the show itself called Veteran's Voice, and it's basically some tips that he wants to throw out there for the community, and I think he's done an excellent job on this. So he and I are going to get together and talk about this a little more, but certainly this is the first one that he recorded, which, like I said, I thought it was good. So without further ado, here is the first of hopefully many Veteran's Voice segments.
On Araxis, there are several things you won't learn from basic training. That's why I'm here to disseminate the knowledge we vets have that make us just that little bit more effective in combat than you. I am Warrant Officer Romas, and welcome to Veteran's Voice. It's time you Zerglings figured out what a spawn room is for. It's for spawning, swapping gear, and regrouping. It is not for fighting. There is no such thing as a successful spawn room hero. You cannot win a battle by pitching a tent in the spawn room and hoping to get a few certs from your sniper rifle or rocket launcher. The name of the game is Capture the Base, and you can't do that if your shiny hiney is in the protective cocoon that is the spawn room. Dying means nothing except a few seconds of looking at the map screen. If you're trapped, take a look at the map. I can guarantee there are other ways to crack that siege. But we'll cover that next time. Until then, remember the only difference between a scrub lord and a superman is learning from your mistakes. Stay frosty, soldiers.
After listening to that, if you continue to stay in the spawn room, you're a moron. Moving along, though, I did also get an email this week from Pipeline Audio, and he wrote, I was quite taken aback by the response of, we can't do anything about it in our department from Roxley. And stepping aside for a moment, he's talking about the post last week where I had mentioned the Ps4 bug about the chat that's been fixed this week, and Roxley's response to it in regards to how they can or can't do things because they're not QA and or customer service and the proper channels to go through. And he's talking about that. So he goes on to say, I understand if you work at McDonald's or United Airlines or something like that, that the wrenches turning the machine may be completely unreachable. But in a creative type of business like this, it seems very, very wrong. I always looked at Planetside as an amazing, responsive business. They really do seem to respond amazingly quickly and amazingly well compared to other games. I tell my audio friends that Planetside is the reaper of FPS games, and I mean it. I mean, I don't see the developers hopping over to Facebook to talk to me, but I see live streams and a lot of interaction. For a product like this, and any company I've ever worked with, if the janitor hears something important from a customer, you can bet the big cheese listens. I try and extend the principle of charity and see this in the best possible light. So I'm thinking, don't contact me about it means more like, I tried to do everything I can and they won't listen. So please, you are preaching to the choir. Still, I appreciate much more. The souls who know they don't have too much say, but still encourage you to tell them your experiences, especially quality of life issues like the chat thing. In creative teams, these kind of attitudes have a way of removing the individual eventually, unless they are artificially protected. So it will probably work itself out, but still leaves a bad taste here. So in response to this, I can certainly understand where you're coming from. And I think that you've had different experiences in the workplace than I have, because I have definitely worked at places where the janitor couldn't tell the CEO jack squat. The CEO would never talk to the janitor. So I've definitely had some different business experiences than you. But that being said, in my job, which I've mentioned before, I'm a quality analyst at a stock company, and I get information all the time from shareholders about complaints that they have with our systems and service and things like that. And while I'm not the area that would correct it or fix it, I certainly would agree with what you had to say, that I would forward those things on and make sure that they're taken care of by somebody in the correct department. And I don't know that I was necessarily taken aback by her response or unhappy with Roxley's response to it. But I certainly understand what she's saying, where, it's not my department. Here's the correct way to do it. I understand the message that she's trying to put across, but I can certainly see how it might rub somebody the wrong way, that you kind of don't care about the community when, yes, you could easily pass something like this along. But again, I understand she doesn't want to get inundated with things like this when it might potentially take longer for her to get it resolved than if somebody went through the proper channels of customer service. Either way, we're probably just splitting hairs here, but your comments are certainly no less important regarding the overall perception that you get in an instance like this. Moving on, though, I did get a second email this week, and technically it's my third. This one was from Wojo, and Wojo write, Derringer, hope your summer is going well. I finally opted into ASP and have progressed up to level 24 so far. My first selection was the SMG secondary for Light Assault. I play a lot of Light Assault and Medic when I'm running with my outfit, Tactical Gamers, TG, as well as when I'm playing solo. So this has been a fun option to work with so far. Wanted to get your thoughts on what I think would be a more interesting option for a Light Assault ASP choice. The ability to swap between whatever jump jets you own using a mechanic that would work just like Select Fire does for weapons. My thought being the Light Assault is focused on being highly mobile and pushing the flow of battle through dynamic movement and agility. Allowing the on-the-fly adjustment to the jetpacks would really support this playstyle without always having to stop back at a Sunday to reset your loadout. I don't think this would be too OP, as it really is just eliminating the need to stop and change loadouts. If the community does feel it's OP, maybe limit it to the ability to swap between only 2 jump jet types of your choice, or maybe a static choice, meaning only option between skirmishers and drifters, but you must own both. Though it seems like the programming would be easier if it simply cycled through whatever jet types you own. There have been a lot of positive changes in the game lately, and the continued development of ASP and other new features has really re-energized my enthusiasm for PS2. Would love to hear your feedback and hope that an idea like this could actually make it into the game. So, Wojo, I love that idea. And I don't think it's too OP. I mean, if you're going to go in and buy all the various jetpacks that you can get throughout the game, why not have an ASP choice that allows you to, quickly swap between them? I really, really like the idea. Granted, I don't know what you would bind that to. What key could that be bound to? That's the only sticking point that I have, because it would have to have its own special key for that, I think. Because you couldn't use B, because that's obviously going to be swapping what your weapon's using. So it would have to be something else, and I'm not exactly sure what you could actually swap it to. But either way, I do like the choice, and I can see a lot of Light Assault players getting it, but then other Light Assault players saying, I don't really need something like that. I only use one of them, or something like that. So again, I like the idea. I'd pitch it directly to the devs and see what they think about it as well. Well, that is going to be it for this week's show. As always, how can you get in touch with me or the show? First off, please visit my website, www.instantactionpodcast.com. Also, you can email me at instantactionshow@gmail.com, just like Wojo, Pipeline Audio, and Romas all did this week. Next, you can call me 347-4VM-4PS2, or that's 347-486-4772. Also, follow the show on Twitter at InstActPodcast, or you can follow me on Twitter. My personal account is at The Derringer. But in closing, if you've enjoyed the show, please leave me a review on your podcast listening avenue of choice, whether it's iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, or anywhere else. Also, feel free to tell your friends and outfit mates about the show. And finally, thanks for listening, and keep spamming that Join Combat, formerly known as Instant Action button.
So on the Instant Action podcast this week, and I listened to that, Derringer.